You know, something that's nice in life is that you're allowed to have a difference of opinion on things, even things that a lot of people generally find to be, or at least things that they all agree on. For example, a lot of people think Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, is the best of the movies. I actually disagree. For me personally, it's Return of the King. Now, not by much. It's not one of those where I'm not going to come in and say Two Towers is trash, because I'm a man of taste. Two Towers is amazing. Helm's Deep is one of the best cinematic moments in all of history. I'm not blind. I see the greatness of Two Towers. So it's basically like, it comes down to like this, like hardly anything at all. But for me, I prefer Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out why. So I actually had conversations with some friends that preferred Two Towers, and actually that brought a lot of light into why I prefer Return of the King, and it comes down to quotes from Return of the King that just stick with you. Like, yeah, Return of the King also has some good fight scenes in it, but let's be real. What I remember most from Return of the King is the impact of certain quotes. So, today we're going to go through some of my favorite quotes in Return of the King to see if I can at least convince you that Return of the King is worth looking into as a potential best Lord of the Rings film. So, do you have a minute to talk about my favorite quotes from Lord of the Rings: Return of the King? Greetings, friends, and welcome to a potentially long overdue, but still exciting episode of Matt's Minutes. Honestly, I've been working on this topic for about 4 or 5 months as to figure out why I love Return of the King more. So, I finally am comfortable enough with my reasons to actually get into it. So, let's just get into one of the speeches that I'm thinking of. So, picture this. Everyone has just won at the Battle of Pelennor Fields. And now everyone is standing at the Black Gate, realizing that they have to basically steal time so Frodo can throw the ring into Mount Doom to destroy it. And imagine the terror of seeing Mordor in Sauron's eye, looking and knowing that that behind the Black Gates are just swarms of orcs. And then we have one of the greatest speeches that I've ever heard, which I will do a somewhat dramatic reading of, so you guys can all picture this in the moment. Now, I'm going to be performing it a little bit differently just because, well, I'm in a room by myself and not surrounded by men. But anyway, you're there and then you hear this. I see in your eyes the same fear that would take the heart of me. A day may come where the courage of men fails, where we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day. An hour of wolves and shattered shield, where the age of men comes crashing down, but it is not this day. This day we fight. By all that you hold dear on this good earth, I bid you stand, men of the West. What a powerful speech that Aragorn gives. It really does a good job of inspiring the troops, and from this point on, they seem much more willing to take on the Black Gate. And his word choice was just beautiful. Way to go, Aragorn. Great speech, man. But yeah, that is such a great scene. But we're not done with great scenes from, well, that scene. We also have a very great interaction between Gimli and Legolas that goes something like this. I never thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf. What about side by side with a friend? I could do that. This scene really shows how far these two have come. Not that they were really enemies at first, but they didn't really get along and didn't really see eye to eye, and they've really become closer and closer friends through the course of the Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King. And this is really the first time that we hear them refer to each other as friends, and it's just an absolutely beautiful scene, well done, well written, and the acting was phenomenal, much better than what I just did back there. Absolutely better. And then there's one final scene where everyone is surrounded by the orcs and things are looking pretty grim. But what does Aragorn do? He takes his sword, he turns back, doesn't yell it, more of a whisper, says, "For Frodo," and charges headlong into battle. That's really powerful. 2 words. 2 words. But coming from the great man of Aragorn, those 2 words meant a lot. It was kind of almost a whole speech in itself, like, why are we here? What are we fighting for? I'll tell you what we're fighting for. We're fighting for Frodo. Don't forget, we're fighting for Frodo. We have to buy time for Frodo. Like, those 2 words carried so much meaning. And the way that he said them, he was so gentle when he said it. I think that comes a lot. It says a lot. There's just, the delivery of those 2 words was perfect. The 2 words themselves were perfect. And really, man, it's just a great moment in cinematic history. Just 2 words. 2 words. But man, so good. So good. Now for the 2 scenes that actually make me cry every time I watch Return of the King, because they're just so beautifully done. The first, well, let me describe the scene using a video that I once saw where SpongeBob and Patrick recreate famous scenes from movies. "Do you remember the Shire, Mr. Frodo? It'll be spring soon. And the orchards will be in blossom." Yeah, I'll just stop right there so I don't ruin everything, but my gosh, it is a great video and it makes me laugh every time. But no, seriously, the scene where Frodo collapses and he can't go on anymore, and Sam starts trying to encourage him by, "Do you remember the Shire, Mr. Frodo? Do you remember this? Do you remember this?" And Frodo counters with, "No. I don't remember any of that. I don't know what any of that tastes like, or what it feels like. I'm stuck in the darkness, Sam. I'm just consumed by this thing." And Sam, being the greatest one of the greatest characters ever, says, "Well then let's be rid of it once and for all. I can't carry it," referring to the ring, "for you, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you." And he picks Frodo up and just starts carrying him to the top of Mount Doom. Guys, that is such a great scene. Peter Jackson really adapted that scene very, very well. And it's just beautiful. It feels natural. Every line in there feels like it needs to be there. It's just so well done, and it means so much, because of course Sam would carry Frodo. That's in his character. Of course he would. He's the best Hobbit. He's like one of the best characters in The Lord of the Rings, which is really saying something. And he's one of the best characters in fiction. I love Samwise Gamgee. And when I think of my top Sam moments, this is easily one of the best, if not the best. So well done. So well done. I love this scene so much. The final scene takes place near the end of the movie, one of its multiple endings, it feels like, because Return of the King has like 3 or 4 points where I'm like, oh, okay, cool, it's done. Oh, wait, no, it's not. But anyway, during one of them, during Aragorn's ceremony where he becomes king. It's a great scene. Everyone's all happy and everything, and he gets to the point where he's seeing everyone either from Gondor or from their adventures and everything, and he's there with Arwen. Really happy scene. He gets to the hobbits, who, bow out of respect. And to show how great of a man Aragorn is, he says, "My friends, you bow to no one." And he bows. And everyone bows, to where the short hobbits are the tallest people in the scene, because everyone is bowing to them. It's wow. That is a fantastic image and scene, and the symbolism of it means a lot. I mean, how many other kings would bow like that and would willingly do that? I mean, I can't really think of any, but Aragorn, of course Aragorn would. Aragorn is one of those men who is so humble that even being a king, it's not going to change who he is. He is a good man, which makes him a great king. Not a great king who is also a good man who therefore is a great king. And what also I love about this scene is I love watching all of the hobbits' reactions, because all of their personalities shine through so much during this scene of what they're doing when everyone bows to them. And if we just get like a little snapshot of just them, it's actually kind of funny. But in that scene, like with Aragorn doing this and the bowing, it's very humbling to see that, because really they don't know what to do. I mean, who would? A king bowing to you? I don't know what I would, if I knew what, I'd probably react the same way, standing there awkwardly. And of course, there are other great scenes from The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Those are just the ones that stick out to me as to why I can't put Two Towers above Return of the King, because Return of the King has so many great moments like that, and those moments will forever just be burned into my brain because they're so good. So I want to ask you guys, do you have any scenes like that from any of the other that I didn't mention, or do you agree with me in that, yes, these are some great scenes? Well done, Matt. And to which I say, hey, thanks, good job. I appreciate you guys sticking up for me. But anyway, yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like this video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date on all the latest content. We post once a week, give or take. So yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. See you next week.